Hey, is that folk music that you play there? What is that? How do you call that folk music?
I think it was Studs Terkel who asked Big Bill Brunzi, did he consider his blues music to be folk music? And Big Bill says, well, never heard no horses sing.
Don't hesitate. It could be your ticket to a new tomorrow.
I held a meeting of the stuff in my room. The pencil and the paper and the plate and the spoon. The TV and the toaster and the table and the broom. And I told them you'd be coming soon. The microwave was open, said he'd welcome a new flame. The cufflinks pitched an offhand plan for a party in your name. The wristwatch took the time to tell them all I was insane. But this old guitar said she'll be coming soon. The meeting took a sharp turn when the radio arrived, singing Love Me Do, a case of you, at last I will survive. The remote control and the sugar bowl started up a conga line, and they went outside. My things continued dancing out the door to my backyard. I've never seen inanimate objects partying so hard. They're celebrating even though we don't know who you are. But we all know you're coming soon. Coming soon. Come on soon. Come on, get over here.
All right. The show is Horses Sing None of It. My name is Ralph Lippman, and our guest today is Larry Siegel.
Hello, Ralph. Really good to see you.
Good to see you again.
It's been some years.
Yes, it has.
And I've been all around the world, as the old song says, since then.
Tell us where.
Well, gosh, I've lived somewhere else besides the United States because I got married to a German gal, so that put me in Bavaria, in the town of Nuremberg, which prior to moving there, I don't think I knew anything about it other than the fact that it was the place where they had the famous post-war trials, you know, the Nuremberg trials. But it actually is a beautiful medieval city, and I pretty much had to move there because my stepdaughter was still in high school and I couldn't expect her mom to relocate at that point. But now the kids are in university and they're living in our house there, and we moved back and we're getting my German wife her American green card and trying that whole thing for the first time. So here we are, back in the U.S.
But you've traveled performing in other places in the world.
I have. Since the last saw you, I've been to India. I've been to Africa 4 times.
Wow.
All over Europe. Living there, it makes it easier. You know, here's the cool thing about living in Bavaria. You can drive to Prague in 3 hours. You can drive to India from Germany. I didn't, but you can. It's the same landmass. It's just something we in America do not think about. You know, when you think about where you could drive. Though we ought to, because, you know, we could drive to Tierra del Fuego if we wanted to, but few of us would. Even horses would drive, none of it.
I guess not.
But so those places, Singapore, Bali, great places. I'm a very lucky guy.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, me too.
So that was an amusing song you started off with.
Ah, yes, you know, that's a very interesting song too, because I was in that, you know how it is when you're working through a hard time, like a broken heart. A lot of times you'll write music to, I call them process songs. You know, you'll write music to get over a hump. And if you don't write music, you'll end up singing something that somebody has written to get them over the hump because it helps you process all the emotional stuff. Well, I had just finished processing all the dark, broken-hearted songs, and I was ready for something new, but I didn't know who Miss Next would be. Turns out it was now the woman who's now my wife, this German gal. Her name's Renata. But I didn't know it at the time, so I wrote this song knowing that she'd be coming soon. And
it worked.
The act of writing a song, ladies and gentlemen, take that to heart. Write a song about something, and it will come to pass. And send me an email, and let me know if it did. At least I believe it, and it worked for me.
Cool. Why don't you give us another one?
All right. Why don't I sing a song that I actually wrote about her once we were already courting? I'm going to switch guitars because, another place I have been was to Ireland. And I'm a big fan of Celtic music. I have another Irish song I wrote to a poem by Yeats that I might play a little bit later. But this one is a true song. When we were kind of on our pre-wedding honeymoon. We were visiting a friend who lived in Cork City. And he was so kind to lend us his little cottage up in County Clare. Have you ever been to Ireland?
Nope. Been to Scotland.
Have you? Well, Ireland is known for being green. Y'all know that. But this one section in County Clare is called the Burren. And if you've ever heard of it, if you've ever been there, you'll know. It looks like the surface of the moon. It's all rock and brown. And I think an English visitor, a writer, said several centuries ago of the Burren, there's, how did he say? Oh yes, not enough water there to drown a man, not enough tree there to hang a man, and not enough earth there to bury a man. That's the Burren. So that's where we ended up. But that, in contrast with the lush green of Ireland, is an amazing place. And we were driving up into Clare in a tiny town called Ballyvan. So that's why I'm giving you this introduction, because the song is called Into Ballyvan. And everything in the song happened just as I'm about to tell you. When the winter sun had all but gone, we set out for Castlemaine. In the dimming hours, we could barely find the narrow winding lane. So we ferried o'er the Shannon shore, the last cross before the dawn, just in time to see a single star falling into Ballyvan. As my love and I took in a sky of stars like melting jewels, we thanked our lucky ones that shone upon such lucky fools. Then ducked beneath an arch when clouds like curtains had been drawn, which melted into drops of rain falling into Ballyvan. to wash away the winter and reveal what love had grown. Then the fire burned bright on the turf that night on the Bay of Galway's shore, reliving sails of sea and tales and lifetimes gone before. But this moment is the greatest gift I'd ever have been shown, as love set sail within our hearts and into Ballyvaughan. Then a tension in my heart released I never knew was there, and it continues to release each day. My love and I will share, as if all my fears have gathered here to farewell and be gone. As my love and I fall into sleep, into Ballyvaughan. As my love and I fall into sleep, into Ballyvaughan. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Into
Beautiful
Ballyvaughan.
song. Beautiful song.
You know, the roads in Ireland are a very curious thing there. The speed limits on the narrowest winding country lanes with brick walls, brick bridges and walls, like so close in that two cars could fit, but more like as they would in two parking spaces. But the speed limit on those roads are 100 kilometers an hour, and which is exactly the same speed limit on their major highways. They have kind of one speed limit fits all there, and I was damned, but the best I could do was to get up to about 60 kilometers an hour on those roads. And I was thinking, I wonder if the locals can actually drive 100, and I'll bet you they can. I already put scratches on the side of the rental car as it was. Because you know when you're trying to drive on the left side and you're used to right side, and it's a gear shift, the first thing you do is you reach to shift gears and you start rolling the window down, because we're used to doing that with our right hand, and then you go to turn the signal, the turn signal, and the windshield wipers go on. And you're trying to do that and navigate these tiny roads. It's not for the faint of heart.
Aye. When we were in England and Scotland, my wife did all the driving. And she's
guess.
ambidextrous.
Is she?
So she didn't have a problem.
Well, okay.
I let her do all the driving. I just sat back and enjoyed the scenery go by.
You're an ambidextrous scenery enjoyer.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
So you have done some interesting gigs with Dolly Parton, with other famous people.
You've read the
Lucy
propaganda.
Arnaz,
Yes.
Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's, John Phillips of Mamas and Papas.
I have, and they were all interesting. With Dolly, that was on the Rosie O'Donnell show. She was appearing on that show doing a song from a new album of hers, which was kind of retro bluegrass material. And she used the backup band that was there for Rosie O'Donnell's show, which is quite a good band. But she needed a mandolin player, so the band leader knew me and hired me to play with her on that song. And I have to tell you, you know, you hear all these things about working with big name people, and inadvertently, you know, you find yourself in a situation where talking to people who have done so will always say, well, that person, if you get to know them real, they're really they'll use all sorts of words. They're a terrible person, but she is as beautiful as you could possibly imagine, inside and out.
That's nice to hear.
There's my unvarnished opinion of Dolly Parton. and she was very kind to the musicians. And I had been on that show before where the person utilizing our talents didn't even look at us, and she actually said complimentary things to us, you know. So she's a real good person.
Cool. What else you got to play for us?
Well, let's see now. We've done the Irish take. I'm a big fan of multicultural music, so I tend to write in different styles too. And since I've seen you last, I wrote another comedy calypso and to put in my bag. So I'm going to do that for you. It's also in my current CD. So this is a little bit of a political song, and it's called "Everything Sounds Better in French." And it's written in a traditional Trinidad calypso style, because I figured who better to interpret traditional Trinidad calypso than a Jew from the Midwest. You know, it's in my blood.
I agree.
So this is in response to all the people who think that, you know, English should be the only official language in America. I don't really take a stand. I simply explore the subject in this song called "Everything Sounds Better in French." Ready?
Yep.
In this country there's a patriotic crowd who want to make it English only allowed. You heard about it. No Spanish, not even a mention. And getting rid of all of the French, and in the future, in case there's an occasion, eliminating everything from the Asian languages. And while we're at it with such determination, drop all the words from all the German nations. So much of English would be extinguished. And do you realize how English would sound if domesticized? There'd be no more fondue, no more flambe, no champagne or Perrier, no mugu gai pan chow mein or flan, no smorgasbord or filet mignon. Now think of what this means to those of us who travel by plane, boat, train, or bus. No more bon voyage is to be said. Only good trip is permitted instead. And goodbye is goodbye, that's all we'll allow. No more adios, au revoir, or ciao. No hasta la vista will we say, 'cause Americans should speak the American way. And no cappuccino, no cafe au lait, no creme caramel, no creme brulee. No more latkes, no more caniche, no more lox or gefilte fish. Oy vey. And no antipasto or entree, for Americans must eat the American way. Now think of all of those films with foreign names. They would have to undergo a similar change. Play it again, Sam. Bogart would grouse in Casablanca, which you must call White House. And La Cage aux Folles, the birdcage would be, oh, they already did that? Pardon me. And forget about Moulin Rouge, that's dead. You'll have to say the Red Windmill instead. And no Kung Fu, no Tai Chi, no sombrero, no mariachi, no sushi, sashimi, wasabi, no wigwam, teepee, or kimosabi. Well, maybe that is American. But no origami or feng shui, 'cause Americans should live the American way. Now think of all of the maps they print and sell. Those would have to be anglicized as well. Think of all the changes throughout the South, like Boca Raton would become Rat's Mouth. And all of the Cajuns would really feel sick when Baton Rouge has become Red Stick. And in Texas, Body of Christ we'll see on the map instead of Corpus Christi. And no more burritos, no enchiladas, no chili con carne or tostadas, no Ramadan, Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa. In fact, I retract that whole last stanza. That's right. 'Cause all we would have left is April Fool's Day if we have to celebrate the American way. Now all this is going to hit us like a flood. Instead of sangria, we'll have to drink blood. The nouveau riche is just the new wealth. And instead of Gesundheit, always shout health. And all the Latin bands would play music called sauce. Your head honcho would just be your boss. Forget about all of that French you were taught, even if it has that certain I don't know what. And to every kind of pasta we'll say bye-bye. And clack every dish that ends with an I. Even Hannibal Lecter's meals would be scanty. Keep the fava beans, lose the Chianti. And even Mardi Gras is just a fat Tuesday when you have to celebrate the American way. Now finally, when 2/3 of our nation are dying from monolinguistic starvation, they will take the situation in hand all the way to the highest court in the land. And then with a split down 4-5, once again they'll shock everybody's lives. When the Supreme Court rules from the bench, everything sounds better in French. Ha ha! I mean, ha ha! What a tour de force this would be here in the land of the free. Ooh la la!
All right. Great stuff.
Thank you. You know, that song took me, I think it took me longer to memorize than it did to write.
I'm sure. Very complicated lyrics.
Yes. And part of the whole idea of these political movements that crop up every once in a while on this subject, that's my response.
We should let folks know how they can get in touch with you and find out more information about your performances and your other activities.
Alrighty. Well, shall I tell you about my website?
Sure.
My website, strangely enough, is my name, LarrySiegel.com. I had to fight tooth and nail against all the other Larry Siegels who wanted that as their domain, but I came out victorious.
Good for you.
Actually, nobody wanted that name. Especially the spelling, because Siegel's one of those names where you can spell a lot of different ways. With Littman, you're pretty much safe. Siegel, but in my case, it's Siegel. So it's LarrySiegel.com. And you can find out about my songs, which are also on iTunes and all that kind of stuff like that.
Great.
You can even email me from my website. That's there.
And also your agency is...
That's true. That's another thing that I do in my life, which is, as you and I both have done in the past, and even swapped jobs in years past of playing for more kind of, rather than concerts, we also do commercial events. I call them commercial just because they're the, you know, your average backyard party, or playing on a train to nowhere, or just little things like that that you and I used to do. Kids' parties, that whole deal. And so, yeah, I have a whole booking business to book myself and other musicians in my network to play commercial, any kind of parties for those kinds of things. That's still going strong. And, but you know what I'd like to do?
By internet from Germany, I guess.
Yes, I lived in Germany at exactly the right time in the world of technology, where everything was easy to do. I used one of those internet phone numbers, and so literally I had a number that people would think was a New York number because it was with a New York area code, but wherever you plug it in on the internet, it's still a New York number, and so I could call anywhere in the United States endlessly for no extra money. It was 5 years ago, you wouldn't be able to do that, but with things like Skype and things like internet phones, I could literally run a business from anywhere in the world transparently. The only people who knew I was calling them from somewhere else would be those who I chose to. Oops, I just said it on the air, didn't I? Well, I'm back in New York now, so it doesn't matter.
What else you got for us?
Well, I thought maybe can we try something together?
Sure.
I have this kind of Sunday morning gospel blues called The River of God, based on my own studies in the teaching that I studied called Ekankar, about how everything is, if you strip away the outer manifestation of everything, everything's really made of light and sound, you know? I mean, on the scientific level, Einstein talked about that too, of course, but spiritually speaking, it's kind of like a river we're all flowing through, and the more you experience that, the more flowy the whole thing gets. So I wrote a song about it, and would you care to join me on the harp?
I would. Thank you
All
for
right.
asking.
It's called The River of God. Y'all can sing along if you want. Though the sky is dark, don't the stars shine bright as I make my way neath the pale moonlight to a place I go at the end of the day. I grab my boat and row, sailing on down the river of God, the light and the sound on the river of God. Sailing on down the river of God, the light and the sound on the river of God. Hear the rush of the wind, hear the whippoorwill sing. When I close my eyes, how my heart takes wing. Feel the boat move on, feel the water rise. All my cares are gone. Sailing on down the river of God, the light and the sound on the river of God. Sailing on down the river of God, the light and the sound, that's the river of God. Play it for me, Ralph. Now when the rivers of earth have all run dry, and you ask for